All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
We are a generous and welcoming people here in the United States, but those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law. We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants.
Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, and then we can get today's stream started. As I'm waiting for the ones to come into the live chat, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, I always see and catch you ghost watchers. Please do me a favor and do yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button, as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button, so you'll be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms as well, to inform your family and friends on this news and information that they're not going to get on MSNBC and CNN. And it does also help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's show now that I see the ones coming in. And also, don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link should be pinned in the live chat above, but if it's not, it's definitely in the description box below and will be pinned in the comment section once the stream ends. So let's get into it. Let's get into today's show, right? As many of you may know, right, Biden recently signed a bogus executive order that is supposed to secure the border, right? It's supposed to slow down the flow of illegal immigration and allegedly, kick those out, deport those who cross the border illegally. The reason that this is a bogus bill is because it's a executive order, I should say, is because it's an executive order that has come far too late. Outside of the fact that it's not a strong enough executive order, that aside, it's far too late, way too late. But the one thing that it does do is that it proves Joe Biden to be a liar. It wasn't that long ago that Biden sat up here, lied to us on national television in front of the world to see, when he stated that there was nothing he can do by way of executive power to stem the flow of illegal immigrants coming into the country. It wasn't that long ago that he said that, and I'll play that for you right now, when he lied to all of us.
With executive authority, or is there more you could do? Absence, done all I can do. Just give me the power. I've asked from the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right.
He lied to you. He lied.
Absence, done all I can do. Just give me the power. I've asked.
He said, I've done all I can do. Just give me the power. Because apparently he exercised all means that were available to him to stop the tidal wave. I didn't know where I was going with that there, but to stop the tidal wave of illegal immigration that he unleashed upon us. He himself unleashed upon us. Once again, he lied to us. That wasn't true. He said that he had done all that he could do, but that clearly wasn't the case, because as you can see here, Biden signs executive order drastically tightening the border, a border that he himself opened up, right? So let's get into this article here. Let's dive into this to see what they're talking about and what Biden has to say. And let's unpack some of this. Facing mounting political pressure over the migrant influx at the southern border, President Joe Biden on Tuesday signed an executive order that will temporarily shut down, temporarily shut down asylum requests once the average number of daily encounters tops 2,500 between official ports of entry, according to a senior administration official. Let's not also forget the chief reason that he's doing is outside of the fact that the election is 6 months away or something like that, if not less than that. There is a debate between Biden and Trump coming soon. I believe it's June 27th, if I'm not mistaken. As I've stated numerous times over and over again on his channel, the migrant crisis is Biden's Achilles heel. In February, according to, I believe it was Gallup polls, or was it Pew Research or the Gallup polls, it showed that illegal immigration, the migrant crisis, was the chief concern of all Americans in the country. So with that being said, and him headed into a debate with Donald Trump, there was no way that he can go into that debate with Trump in November and for him to at least not have on paper that he attempted to do something. Prior to this executive order, Biden literally for close to 4 years now has done absolutely nothing to stop the tidal wave of illegal immigrants that he unleashed onto the population. He could not go into that debate and get dog walked on the migrant crisis issue, which he still will get dog walked by Trump. But there was no way that he can walk into that debate empty-handed. This is his way of not entering into that debate empty-handed, to at least be able to say, well, I kind of tried something. That's something coming way too late. The border is not a political issue to be weaponized, Biden said in a White House speech announcing the order. The shutdown would go into effect immediately, since that threshold has already been met, a senior administration official said. Look at that. Look at Biden shutting the border down immediately, something that he said he couldn't do, something that he lied to you about. And he just did it like that with a stroke of a pen. The border is closed. The border would reopen only once the number falls to 1,500. The president's order would come under the Immigration and Nationality Act sections 212F and 215A, suspending entry of non-citizens who cross the southern border into the United States unlawfully. This is something that we have discussed over and over again on this channel. This is a article here that he had an option to use once again for close to 4 years now. He could have put in place the Immigration and Nationality Act sections 212F and 215F. And what that states is this. Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act reads, whenever the president finds the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. He always had that in his bag. And if you are someone who is subscribed to the channel, you would know that. If you were subscribed, That's why you need to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification next to the subscribe button. He always had this in his bag to use and deliberately, intentionally chose not to use it while lying to the American public, stating that there was nothing he can do. Give me the power. I need Congress to give me the power. No, you had the power and you chose not to use it. Senior administration officials said Tuesday in a call with reporters that individuals who cross the southern border unlawfully or without authorization will generally be ineligible for asylum, absent exceptionally compelling circumstances, unless they are accepted by the proclamation. Look at that. If you cross the border illegally, you will be ineligible for asylum. Look at Biden just simply enforcing the border laws that are already on the books, that have always been on the books, that he chose not to enforce. Look at him just doing the obvious. The officials said that migrants who don't meet the requirement of having credible fear when they apply for asylum will be immediately removed, and they anticipate that excuse me, I can't fumble this because this is very important. I'm going to start this paragraph over again. I cannot fumble this. The officials said the migrants who don't meet the requirement of having a credible fear when they apply for asylum will be immediately removed. And they anticipate, in air quotes now, not air quotes, but in actual quotes, and they anticipate that will be removing those individuals in a matter of days, if not hours. Biden signed this executive order, and with the stroke of a pen, within hours, illegal immigrants began to get deported within hours, something that he could have done 3 to 4, coming up on almost 4 years ago now. He's just now doing it in this moment in time after lying to you over and over again, saying that he couldn't. I want to get into Biden's deportation record for just a moment. This is something that we've gone through a few times over. But since we're, talking about deportations now, let's get into it. Let's get into that, because deportations is something that Biden is not a fan of. This is something that he doesn't do, right? 2018, 2019, and 2020. These are the Trump years. In 2018, Donald Trump deported 256,000 illegal immigrants. In 2019, he deported 267,000 illegal immigrants. In 2020, the year of the great illness, he deported 185,000 illegal immigrants. Joe Biden, in year one, 2021, deported only 59,000. In 2022, he deported only 72,000. Now that we're coming at the halfway mark of his presidency, and it's going to be time for him to run for a re-election, that's when we see the numbers bump up just a little bit to where you see fiscal year 2023, the number of deportations finally hit the $100,000 mark of 142,000 illegal immigrants deported. And I believe Biden is currently on pace to pass that number up now in the election year of 2024. Once again, this is only because he's running for re-election. In the first half of his presidency, he could even break 100,000. 59,000 deportations in fiscal year 2021 is shameful and ridiculous. That's crazy. Only 59,000. But now we're hitting into the 100,000 area because, once again, I'm running for re-election. So I need to start deporting people. I want to reiterate and hammer away on the point that Biden, outside of the fact that we're looking at the numbers in front of us, what I need you to hear is hear it from a former immigration judge's mouth. I need you to hear it from a former immigration judge's mouth on how he could not substantiate whether or not the Biden administration were following through with deportations once he issued deportation orders. And this is something that he had never had a trouble with administrations prior to the Biden administration. So I want to play that for you right now because I feel like that video is extremely important to watch for those of you who haven't seen it already. It's roughly around 3 minutes long. We're going to sit through it because it's worth sitting through as it pertains to the information that's being delivered in that video. Before we do that, I have to shout out the contributors to today's stream. Thank you very much. Shout out to my man DSB for 16 months of service as a channel member. I appreciate you, DSB. He says, keep up the amazing work, my warrior brother. I definitely will. I appreciate you, DSB. Shout out to RG for becoming a channel member. Thank you very much, RG, for becoming a channel member. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Shout out to Mr. Inglewood77. He said, ghost riding, watching like Nicolas Cage while eating hot Cheetos. Much love, though, TD. Why you got a ghost watch eating hot Cheetos, man? Just hit the subscribe button, Mr. Inglewood77. But I appreciate your contribution to today's stream, man. Thank you very much for the super chat. And shout out to Terrence Monger, I believe that is. Shout out to Terrence Monger for becoming a channel member. I appreciate the support that you all show me. I literally don't exist without you guys' support. So I truly appreciate it when you do. Thank you. Now let's get into the video of the former immigration judge showing how difficult it is to substantiate whether or not deportations are happening under Joe Biden. Let's jump into that right now.
Either Mr. O'Brien or Ms. Vaughn were once to answer this question. I always kind of wonder what happens if people come here illegally and commit a crime. You know, people talk about law-abiding, da-da-da. If you commit a crime, and I'd like you maybe to compare the Biden administration to the Trump administration, to the Obama administration or Clinton administration, what happens to you if you commit a crime? And how does this compare to, like I said, if you'd committed that crime 6 years ago?
Let me take the first part. Mr. Grothman, as to the first part of your question, if you have committed one of a wide variety of crimes which are set forth in the Immigration and Nationality Act, the way the law is written, you're supposed to be placed into removal proceedings and get a hearing. Unfortunately, I think over time, the hearings have been analogized to a criminal proceeding, but they're not. They're very similar to a driver's license revocation proceeding. So if you have been convicted by an Article III court of law, the crime stands on its own. And what you get, we call them a notice to appear now, but you get an order to show cause, essentially to show why you shouldn't be removed from the United States. And those crimes can range from things that are classified under the INA as aggravated felonies, which are set forth in 101A43A of the Immigration and Nationality Act, to things that are classified as crimes involving moral turpitude. So everything from shoplifting to murder can potentially get you deported. There are some crimes that are considered lower level enough that they would not, and if you've committed certain low level crimes, you can apply for relief from removal. But anything that is classified under the INA as an aggravated felony crime is supposed to result in your removal from the U.S. and then you being barred from returning for a certain number of years.
Has the rigor at which we enforce these rules, is this changed between the Trump or even Obama administrations and President Biden?
Yeah, it's changed significantly. There seems to be significantly less willingness under this administration to use the administrative and expedited removal procedures, wherein if people have been removed from the United States after committing a crime and find themselves back here, they can actually be removed without a hearing. I also found that when I was an immigration judge, I later tried to determine how many of the people that I had ordered removed, that their removal had actually been effectuated from the United States, which was something that was fairly easy to do under prior administrations, but I could not substantiate that a single individual that I had entered an order of removal against had actually been removed by this administration.
He can't substantiate that any of the people that he put in removals for were actually removed. He couldn't substantiate any of the deportations. This is something that he had never had a problem with under administrations prior, specifically Trump. He never had those issues. I'm not sure if he was around during Obama, but that's irrelevant at this point. Because the reality is that he's telling you right here and now under the prior administration, and I'm assuming administrations prior, he literally never had a problem substantiating whether or not those he put in deportation orders for were actually deported up until Biden. And obviously, as we can all see here, clearly they were not being deported, especially in fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 2022. Now, what I want to do is get into what I feel is the meat of today's discussion, right? I want to get into the meat of today's discussion, and that's this right here. That's this right here. Biden administration offers mass amnesty to migrants as it quietly terminates 350,000 asylum cases. Shh. Did it quietly. Biden did it quietly. Let's jump into this right now. Let's get into this article. And if I didn't state it earlier, which I feel like I did, but in case I didn't, everything that you see on your screen right now as it pertains to, videos, articles and whatnot that are on your screen right now, they will be the links will be in the comment section, will be pinned in the description box below, right? The links to all this will be in the description box below, so you can read and watch all this stuff for yourself, minus my commentary, which I strongly suggest that you do. Let's get into it. While the Biden administration is attempting, let me run that back. While the Biden administration is attempting to look like it's getting tough on the border, I like how they started that off. While the Biden administration is attempting to look like it's getting tough on the border, behind the scenes, it's operating a program of mass amnesty for migrants, the Post revealed. Data show that since 2022, more than 350,000 asylum cases filed by migrants have been closed by the U.S. government if the applicants don't have a criminal record or are otherwise not deemed a threat to the country. This means that while the migrants are not granted or denied asylum, their cases are terminated without a decision on the merits of their asylum claims. They are removed from the legal system and no longer required to check in with authorities. The move allows them to legally identify and the move allows them to legally indefinitely roam the U.S. without fear of deportation, effectively letting them slip through the cracks. What does that mean? It means that they turn into ghosts. It turns into ghosts because they're no longer in the system as potential asylum seekers. They no longer have a court date. They no longer have on record a deportation order. If they indeed missed a court date, they have nothing. They're just not on file anymore. By terminating the cases, you're just letting ghosts roam free. Ghosts like the individual that we discussed in today's video earlier that I dropped. I can't remember his entire name, but his last name was Mata. Many of you may remember this. It's the Venezuelan illegal immigrant migrant who sent a couple shots, we'll say, at two police officers, and he connected. He hit both. The officer survived. One was hit in the chest, his bulletproof vest. The other one was hit in the leg. They were okay. He survived, or they both survived. But the point is that migrant, Biden's migrant, right? His case was terminated. His asylum case was terminated because he was deemed not a national security threat. And once his case was terminated, what happened from that point on is that he began his life of being a full-time degenerate in the United States. And there is a connection, as we're going to see later at the end of this article, highlighted by ICE agents themselves. There is a connection between asylum cases being terminated, and then from those asylum cases being terminated, those same individuals then result to a life of crime once the asylum cases have been terminated. And it makes logical sense that they would do that because, once again, when your asylum case is terminated, you effectively become a ghost in the country. So nobody knows who you are and nobody knows where to find you. But I don't want to jump the gun. We'll wait until we get to the end of this article to really highlight that. And thank you all for those of you who are contributing to today's stream. I'm going to get to those super chats and shout you all out in just a moment. But I just wanted to let you all know I see you and I truly do appreciate you. I do not exist without your support. Thank you very much. Look at this right here. Look at this piece of data right here. This highlights, let me zoom in a little bit more for you guys so you can see it better, because you might not be able to see it that great. So this right here is a chart that shows how when Biden took office, asylum cases that were effectively terminated with no resolve skyrocketed. What you see in the green is granted asylum. What you see in blue is ordered removed deportations. And what you see in the red is not adjudicated. Not adjudicated simply meaning the case was terminated without any resolve. There was no resolve. It was not adjudicated. And the illegal immigrants turned into ghosts. What you see here is when you scroll down is during the Obama years, 2014, 2015, 2016, guaranteed asylum, ordered removed, not adjudicated. It's all rather equal and even. I'll zoom in some more. Why not? Let me so you guys see this better. You can see it right here, right? But not adjudicated, the red is what we're focusing on. Not adjudicated is when the illegal immigrants turn into ghosts because their cases were thrown out. So you see here under Obama in his last years in office, they were rather, everything was all even, which is cool. It's fine, I guess. Trump takes office in 2016, and then his start date obviously effectively begins, January 2017. And cases that are not adjudicated here in red, meaning cases that were just terminated just to be terminated, and in which the illegal immigrants go free, that hit the floor. Under the Trump administration, virtually zero cases were terminated just to be terminated. Virtually none of them, as you can see here, hit the floor. Once Biden gets into office, oops, it skyrockets. Once he gets into office, it shoots up like a rocket, as you can see here. Shoots up like a rocket the moment he gets into office. 2021, here's liftoff. To the moon. Forget to the moon. Biden took it to Mars. He took it all the way to Mars. And to get a better understanding of this, I want to get into the actual numbers, because you can see here that Trump's numbers are to the floor and Biden's numbers are to the moon as it pertains to those not adjudicated, meaning those migrants who have turned into ghosts effectively walking around the country and we don't know who they are. You can see that, but when you see the numbers for yourselves, it's very glaring. I want to get into that right here. Here are the Trump years. On my right, over here, on my right, is where the not adjudicated cases are. 2017, 11,000. And this is the Trump administration. 2017, not adjudicated cases, 11,000. 2018, not adjudicated cases, 5,000. 2019, 4,700. 2020, 4,700. Biden comes into office 2021, 18,000. And in 2022, it skyrockets to 102,000. And in 2023, it goes up even further to 149,000. And currently in the fiscal year of 2024, which will end, I believe fiscal year of 2024 ends September 30th of this year, if I'm not mistaken, we're already at 113,000. That's where you get that 350K plus number that you read at the top of this article as it pertains to how many migrants have essentially been set free from the burden of even having to be involved with court cases to where they could become ghosts. That's where that number comes from. 102,000, 149,000, and 113,000. Under the Trump administration, 2018, 2019, 2020, he wasn't even breaking 10,000. None of these cases were getting thrown out under him. Now, let's go back to where we left off. I want to go back to where we left off, and we are right here. This is just a massive amnesty under the guise of prosecutorial discretion, according to Andrew Arthur, a former immigration judge who works for the Center of Immigration Studies. You're basically allowing people who don't have the right to be in the United States to be here indefinitely. He added to the post, once again, That's another former immigration judge who's stating this. An ICE officer stated this: please let me know what's really going on. ICE officers don't even know what's happening here. And this is why in my video prior, the video that I released earlier this morning, I was discussing how, we should probably have some grace on ICE officers, right? I don't want to get too much into what was discussed in that video from earlier this morning. You should just go watch it. But it's pretty hard for ICE officers to do their job when you have to fight against the president of the United States, as well as governors and mayors of cities and states all across America, particularly Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. You have to fight against them as well, where none of them are willing to cooperate with you so that you can do your job as ICE officers to actually detain and deport illegal immigrants, right? So I don't hold much against them when they fumble the ball. And they did fumble the ball in today's video that we discussed this morning. But like I said, I'm not going to get into that right now. In 2022, under Biden, a memo issued by ICE's principal legal advisor, Carrie Doyle, and seen by the Post, instructed prosecutors at the agency to allow cases to be dismissed for migrants who aren't deemed national security threats. That year, 36,000 ordered removed. I'm not going to read that part because that's just going over the numbers that we just went over. So what I want to do is scroll down a little bit here more. And I think we're coming to the end. Yes, we are. I think matter of fact, let me read that over again and bleed into that appropriately, right? In 2022 under Biden, a memo issued by ICE's principal legal advisor, Carrie Doyle, and seen by the Post, instructed prosecutors at the agency to allow cases to be dismissed for migrants who are not deemed national security threats, right? Now what I want to do is I want to go down to the portion that I told you about where ICE officials discuss what happens once these guys have effectively been taken off the books and become ghosts in this country, right? I want to get into that right now in closing. ICE officers who spoke with the Post flagged an increase in cases of migrants committing crimes after their asylum cases have been closed. Now, on one hand, you have the Biden administration who has instructed essentially the border authorities to do away with the cases of those asylum cases of those who are not deemed a national security threat. And what we're seeing here by word of ICE officers is that there is a connection and an increase in crime, an increase in Biden's migrants committing crimes once those cases are done away with. Why is that? Well, as we discussed earlier, because they effectively become ghosts. They become ghosts. ICE officers who spoke with the Post flagged an increase in cases of migrants committing crimes after their asylum cases have been closed. This forces agents to restart removal proceedings, which typically take years. If the migrants whom ICE no longer controls or monitors commit crimes after the dismissal, ICE will have to start all over and issue a new notice to appear in court and start the clock all over again, an ICE official told the Post. It's starting to increase. I repeat, ICE official stated, it's starting to increase. A second ICE officer told the Post, pleading for publicity over the issue. Understand what I just read there at that last sentence in closing. Zoom in on that. It's starting to increase. The ICE officer is literally talking about crime. He's talking about crime from those specifically and particularly those who have had their cases thrown out because apparently they're not a national security threat, right? He said it's starting to increase. A second ICE officer told the Post, pleading meaning begging, pleading for publicity over the issue. You have ICE officers that are literally begging for help. They're begging for the message to get out there that crime is increasing as you're doing this, but nobody's listening, because when you put this information forward, it's automatically deemed misinformation, malinformation, right? You automatically turn into a Russian bot, which I am, powered by artificial intelligence and chat GPT. You automatically turn into all these things, and you're dismissed as someone who's apparently xenophobic. I would think that ICE officers would know best. I would like to believe that, but apparently they don't. Apparently they don't. Apparently this ICE officer, I guess, is lying. I guess he's not being truthful. If you let anybody else tell it, if you let Biden tell it, if you let the DNC tell it, he's not being truthful. But from all the stories that I have reported on over and over again on this channel concerning migrant crime, especially migrant crime that's happening in border towns, right? On the American side, clearly this is true. Clearly this is true. And we saw it the most evident in the most recent crime committed by an illegal immigrant, Venezuelan migrant, who was only 19 years old, whose case, his asylum case, was dismissed, not adjudicated. And once that happened, what proceeded was that he fell down. I shouldn't say he fell down. He didn't fall down anything. He proceeded to move forward with what he always wanted to do, which was come to America to commit crime. Because prior to sending a few shots to 2 NYPD officers, which those shots did connect, but they survived. Prior to sending a few shots at those officers, he was already a suspect in numerous thefts. What's it called? Thefts of purse and cell phones. You know how in New York, particularly, he was a suspect in numerous crimes in Queens, where these Venezuelan migrants, they're riding on mopeds and scooters, and they're snatching purse out of women's hand, and they're snatching cell phones out of their hand, while they're on the scooters. He started to participate in this and was a suspect in numerous cases like that. And in the midst of being pursued Monday morning, he said, "You're never going to take me alive," and bow, bow, bow at the cops, right? This isn't the first time we've heard of something like this, and it definitely is not going to be the last time. But that's what Biden is unleashing onto the population. That's what he's unleashing onto the population. And in my opinion, a lot of this is happening also as far as Biden having his administration eliminate cases for those so-called migrants who are not national security threats. In between that, and I believe I have this highlighted at the bottom, in between that and this right here, I'll read this off in closing. Meanwhile, the Biden administration attempts to tighten things up at the border has included issuing a rule in May that asylum claims must be resolved within 180 days for migrants who list their final destination in the U.S. as Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York City. In between the outright dismissal of asylum cases, and now we see him trying to fast track the process of asylum claims in Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. What he's trying to do is legalize, and in the case of those cases that he dismissed, he wouldn't be legalizing them, but he's turning them into ghosts. Essentially, he's trying to make it extremely difficult for when Trump to come into office, if he does come into office, to be able to deport all of these migrants. If they effectively become a ghost through eliminating the cases altogether, to where you don't know where they are, you don't know where what their names are, there's nothing on file at all, it's pretty hard to deport someone essentially who's a ghost. And you're not going to be able to deport anybody in Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, or New York after Biden has fast-tracked all of these migrants, legalizing them in the city, right? The process normally at this point takes years with the backlog that currently exists. I believe there's 3.5 million asylum cases backlog. This should take years. They're looking to resolve these asylum claims in 180 days, like that. they're trying to legalize as many of his migrants as possible before Trump gets into office, if he gets into office, because we always have to factor in Biden's 2020 magic. You never know what's going to happen this election. I advocate not going to sleep. If I were you, I wouldn't go to sleep this election. The last time we went to sleep, one guy was winning. And when you woke up in the morning, the guy who was winning that most likely should have won ended up mysteriously losing all of a sudden. So I'm not going to sleep this election. I'm going to stay awake because you're not going to pull the wool over my eyes this time. And I'll end it with that. I want to thank you all for joining me today. In closing, let me shout out those who have contributed. Shout out to Walter Wilborn for always coming through. I appreciate you, Walter. Thank you very much. Shout out to Minnesota County Unsolved Crime Channel. He said, let us know that you're voting Democrats. No, not me. No, sir. No, sir. Not me. I appreciate you, Minnesota County Unsolved Crime Channel. And shout out to Watch Your Mouth. Watch Your Mouth said, I'm just checking in. I missed the beginning, but the audacity of Joe makes me want to tip you. I appreciate that. Watch Your Mouth. I appreciate the audacity of Joe Biden. He said, man, let me tip TD. The audacity of Joe Biden. Let me throw a little quick $4.99 at him. I appreciate you, Watch Your Mouth. And I appreciate you all for taking the time to watch or to participate in the stream with me today. So I'm going to head on out of here. I want to thank you all for your time. Please hit the like button on your way out. If you haven't had the like button already, subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, if you're ghost watching right now, I see you guys ghost watching. I don't know why you do that. You can just hit the subscribe button. You're always watching this content. Just hit the subscribe button. If you're ghost watching, hit the subscribe button. Or if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And share this video on your social media platforms. Follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below. It's in the comment section. It's pinned in the live chat. Yada, yada, yada. I'll catch you guys. I should be back tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Peace and have a great evening.